begin by introducing people on my right and my left. Deborah Burlingame, who I'm going to reintroduce a little bit later, who is a friend and co-founder of 9/11 Families for a Safe and Strong America. Her brother, Chip Burlingham, was a pilot that was lost in the 9/11 tragedy, and she also serves on the board of the National 9/11 Museum and Memorial Foundation. On my left is Tim Brown, who was a 9/11 first responder, retired firefighter, and who lost 93 colleagues and friends on that fatal day in 9/11. Well, we're gathered here together, unified, to ask questions and to seek an investigation. We're only feet away from the worst terrorist attack in the history of America, on the first anniversary of the London terrorist attack, and it is appropriate that we speak out on behalf of both the victims and the survivors of 9/11. We've seen disturbing reports in the press about the plans to construct the Cordoba Mosque only feet away from ground zero. Today I'm asking the Attorney General, Andrew Cuomo, to open an investigation into the Cordoba Mosque and to examine what I believe is a serious security issue. The proposed mosque is, as I said, was within feet of the worst terrorist attack in American history. The imam in charge of the mosque, Faisal Abdul Rauf, has refused to acknowledge on numerous occasions the sources of the money that has been used both to purchase this land and potentially to build what is expected, or what is proposed to be a $100 million mosque. And further questions are raised. One, in view of the role of one of the well-known terrorist organizations, Hamas. On numerous occasions, the imam has been asked about the status of Hamas. He has refused to agree or to classify Hamas as a terrorist organization. This from an organization that has fired over 4,000 deadly rockets at civilian targets in Israel since taking control of Gaza by force back in 2007. And how much more do we need to hear about suicide bombers in civilian areas in crowded marketplaces before people like the imam admit that Hamas is in fact a terrorist organization? And further information, recent press accounts have raised serious troubles and problems and questions about the funding of this mosque, as I mentioned before. The imam has ties to an organization, Pradana Global, that provided the primary funding for the flotilla that tried to break the Israeli blockade in Gaza and brutally attack members of the Israeli Navy and that tried to storm the flotilla. And once again, we see another flotilla that is being organized, very provocative. As I've said in the letter I've written to Andrew Cuomo, a copy of which I'm going to share with the press, it is the responsibility and within the authority of the Attorney General to supervise charitable organizations. Based on the comments of this imam who is in charge of this mosque, the lack of transparency in the financing and funding of the mosque, his refusal to disassociate himself from terrorist organizations such as Hamas, the provocative comments that he's made, including the one, quote, standing behind me, which seems to strive for some type of moral equivalency between who we are as a country and what terrorists stand for and what they're done. All these raise very serious security questions about the appropriateness of this mosque, where it is, and whether it's going to be under the supervision of Rauf. So we're asking the Attorney General, Andrew Cuomo, to exert his authority to investigate the sources of these donations, of the money that's coming in, to determine whether or not that is compliant. In fact, the organization, the Cordoba Initiative, which is a charity registered with the Attorney General's office, is in fact a legitimate charity, and in fact whether the sources of income are legitimate or whether they pose security risks to the people of New York and to the people of America. We seek a clean accounting of all the funding sources for this mosque. My fellow New Yorkers and the two heroes that are standing with me are asking for a thorough investigation by the Attorney General's office as well. We ask that the Attorney General look behind the superficial, to look to shells and to phantom entities, to get behind the facts and to really get out the information that is necessary for the people of New York to make a judgment Where did the $5 million come from that were used to purchase the land? Where will the $95 million in addition come from to build the mosque? Who's behind these investments? What is their purpose? What is their goal? What is their intent? It seems to me that the people of New York, especially in the shadow of the worst terrorist attack in American history, which is still a scar and a trauma to so many New Yorkers, deserve a fair and full accounting and should not tolerate the shadows, the opaqueness, the cloth or the cloak that the imam is hiding behind. If in fact he is going to execute on the purposes that he states right now, then there should be no reason why he is not forthcoming about who else is funding this and who else is behind this. You know, I think New Yorkers have a right to be safe. They have a right to feel safe and be safe. That's one of the reasons why I stood up and said that the trial of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed should not occur in a downtown New York civilian courthouse. That a self-described mastermind of 9/11 does not deserve the rights and privileges of American citizenship when they are tried. Unfortunately, the Attorney General of the United States, Eric Holder, disagreed. And once again, in this case, we have silence from Eric Holder as to whether there should be an investigation of this Cordoba mosque. Last time, when we spoke out against the trial of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed in a downtown courtroom, Andrew Cuomo was silent, said nothing. This time, he is supportive of the mosque. Well, we're now asking the Attorney Generals, both of the United States and of New York State, to do their job, to investigate the sources of contributions for this, to investigate whether or not the serious security issues that seem to be raised are legitimate issues, and whether New Yorkers can feel safe or should be concerned about the sources of these incomes, the intent of the people behind it, the motivations of people like Raouf and his other allies, given his associations with Perdana, given his comments that he's made that are very troubling and seem to show certain sympathy with terrorist activities and terrorist organizations. We don't need silence now, we need leadership. We need the people of New York to feel as though somebody is standing up to protect them, their rights, and their safety. This is a matter of competence. Assuring New Yorkers on the transparency of this project is a question of competent governance, not through deafening silence. So with that, I'd like to introduce now Deborah Burlingame.